Evening, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates. We're coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. I'm using my device tonight because my address to all of you is very, very important. I wanted to make sure tonight I reach the maximum number of people that will hear what I have to say. I have a large address to you. Well, actually not a large address, but my address is something that I believe is very important. And I want to make sure that what we have to say is addressed. This is very important. I have spent a great deal of time thinking about what I was going to say tonight. And my message to you, I wanted to make sure that we had something important for you. And I'm not willing to allow it to be anything other than what it is. I want to make sure that everybody realizes the importance of the things that we're facing. Our lives are changing. Our lives are changing even in the blink of an eye. I come to you tonight with a heavy heart. That's not a political speech. I am very serious when I say this. I want to thank our mods here for being here. I thank you all, and please watch out for trolls tonight, because what I have to say is very important. I fully expect a lot of trolls to be here. I don't want that to happen, but I fully expect it to be so. This evening's address is something that I have been thinking about for over a week now. Actually, a little bit longer than that. I am first going to talk about earthquakes, because what we've been seeing earthquake-wise around the world is something that we need to recognize, because, folks, what we're seeing right now is going to mean the demise of the world as we know it. Not just with earthquakes either. Last night at about, I want to say 23:03 last night, which is 11:03 Eastern Time, we had what USGS called a 5.0 earthquake. USGS, as you know, redelegated what they term as a 5.0, 5.9 earthquake. They now call them moderate earthquakes. If you go over to the USGS site, it will tell you that 5.0 to 5.9 earthquakes can cause major damage. Why did they allocate the word moderate to a 5.0 earthquake that used to be called a large earthquake? Because they are told not to be truthful. We've talked about this a lot over the years. Last night off the coast of the United States and Canada, over in the Juan de Fuca Fault area, in the exact location where we have previously determined the Cascadia megathrust earthquake will originate from. Over along the Juan de Fuca Fault area, the Farallon Fault area, and the Cascadia subduction zone, very close to the coast of Washington. The Cascadia subduction zone, as you all know, runs parallel to the coastline of Canada and the United States. British Columbia, Canada, it goes from Queen Charlotte Island south to Northern California, all along the west coast of North America, all the way down to Northern California. There it meets up with what they call the Gorda Escarpment, a fault that runs westbound from the California coast. Along with the Gorda Escarpment, we also have the San Andreas Fault. It kind of looks like this. The San Andreas Fault meets up with the Gorda Escarpment like this. The San Andreas Fault runs from there all the way down through California, all the way down into Mexico, and ends up along the coast of southern Mexico. Getting back to the Cascadia subduction zone. The Cascadia subduction zone, which is an earthquake fault, runs from what they call the triple junction at the Gorda Escarpment and the San Andreas Fault, and it runs parallel to the west coast of North America, California, Oregon, Washington, and British Columbia, Canada, all the way north to Queen Charlotte Island. Last night at 11:03 p.m. Eastern Time, 9:03 p.m. Pacific Time, the USGS said that there was a 5.0 quake there. They call it moderate, I call it large. I want to make sure that you understand the importance of what I'm saying. This earthquake was in the exact same location where we expect the Cascadia megathrust earthquake, a 9.0 to 10.0 magnitude earthquake, to occur. Let me turn this camera over to our map here. I want to make sure you understand what we're talking about, because what we're talking about is very important. This earthquake here, this is pretty much the exact location where we believe the Cascadia megathrust earthquake is going to occur. Right there is the Juan de Fuca Fault, or what they call the Farallon Fault, Farralen, the Farallon Fault. You can see the Cascadia Cascadia subduction zone there. You can also see the other faults that we have to deal with. On the southern side of the Juan de Fuca Fault, we have the Blanco Fracture Zone. The Blanco Fracture Zone runs from the northwest to the southeast, connecting up with the Gorda Ridge. The Gorda Ridge to the south there, let me get my pointing device here so you'll know what I'm talking about. This is the Gorda Ridge here. This is what we call the Gorda Escarpment that I just spoke about. Like I said, this area, the Triple Junction, where the faults meet down here in the south. The San Andreas Fault runs from here all the way down through California, down the Mexican coastline to southern Mexico. This fault is very dangerous. This Juan de Fuca Fault is very dangerous. Okay, this is a large earthquake here. Back in December, on December 24th, 2019, there were 3 7.0 earthquakes right here. December 24th, 2019. 3 7.0 earthquakes occurred that night, Christmas Eve. Myself and Terry Rempel were on the phone together until the wee hours of the morning because of these earthquakes occurring. We were very concerned that we may have a Cascadia megathrust earthquake on a Christmas Eve. Naturally, our concerns were evident. We didn't want to have a catastrophic earthquake happen on such a holy night, Christmas Eve. So Terry Rempel and I got down on our knees that night and prayed. We begged the Lord God to stop the possible earthquake from happening. It is our belief that our Heavenly Father and His Son Jesus Christ stopped a megathrust earthquake from happening that night. This is the second time we've had earthquake this strong in this region. This is the first time since those 7.0 earthquakes on December 24th, 2019. Folks, I still have very close feelings about this earthquake because I know what is happening here. I spoke to you the other night about the danger I felt that the state of Alaska was in, with several 5.0 earthquakes down on the Aleutian Island fault zone, and we know that those earthquakes are headed up into Alaska. I'm still putting out the warning voice tonight. Alaska, you need to stand by for a large to a major earthquake to happen between now and next Tuesday. Between now and next Tuesday. I pray it doesn't happen. The last time we had a major earthquake was over in Alaska in Anchorage. Another 7.1 earthquake hit then with major damage in Anchorage and the surrounding area. With this energy here coming down out of Alaska here to the Juan de Fuca fault zone, I have strong feelings about. I want to warn everybody that the possibility of a major earthquake from happening is very real. This large earthquake probably will not kick off a Cascadia quake. However, this is a warning. I believe this 5.0 earthquake is a warning to that area. I want everybody to keep an eye on the Cascadia subduction zone. Okay? This is important. This is very important. Now, you can also see earthquakes over here in Alaska today. Okay? This is also important to understand what this is about. This is a 3.1 earthquake near Kobuk, Alaska. 3 years ago, we had a 6.3 earthquake here in Kobuk, Alaska. A 6.3 very strong earthquake. This is a 3.1. USGS is defining this as 85 kilometers east-southeast of Red Dog Mine. Further, over in what I call the hand of Western Alaska here, Teller, Alaska. Let me enlarge this map so you can see what I'm talking about. This is why I call it the hand. It looks like a hand here. This is a 3.0 earthquake in Teller, Alaska. This is about the second or third earthquake of this size in this area during the last year. Okay? I want to make that known. Over here today, this is what they call Anchor Point, Alaska. Anchor Point, Alaska. This is along the coastline of the peninsula. Okay? The coastline here that you see here is called the Cook Inlet. The Cook Inlet. It comes out of the North Atlantic and it goes all the way up here north towards Anchorage here. Where you see my cursor here, this is Anchorage, Alaska. This earthquake is down here at west-northwest of Anchor Point. Okay, a 4.3 earthquake here. A 4.3 earthquake here. Other than the strength of this quake, we need to be aware that this 5-point plus energy is coming out of the Aleutian Islands and is headed north. This 4.3 could be a wake-up call. This 4.3 near Anchor Point could be a wake-up call for a larger earthquake. And we're going to watch this. We're going to watch it very carefully. Kel Griffin is here in the chat. She said, Ron, would you please keep your eyes on England? We had 3 quakes last week, but it's not advertised. It's not advertised because the USGS doesn't want anybody to know it. And the British Seismological Agency doesn't want anybody to know it. That's the bottom line. And it's not just 3 earthquakes last week. My birds have told me that there were about 18 earthquakes in the last 24 hours over there in England, north to south. 1.5, 1.7 tremors, 2.1 minor earthquakes in England. Yet nobody is aware of it because they're hiding the information. Yes, you folks in England need to be very cautious about what you're doing. You need to look over online, not just what the English Seismologist Agency says, or the British Seismology Agency says, or the US. Go over to the European Agency, the EMSC. The EMSC reports about 90% of all earthquakes worldwide. What USGS does not talk about, EMSC does. But EMSC also doesn't report about 10% of the quakes. I want to make you aware of what we're talking about here. This is very concerning. Okay? England needs to stand by for an earthquake. How strong it's going to be, I don't know. But they're also not telling anybody about what's going on. 2 weeks ago, when those 2.1, 1.7s, and I believe even a 2.9 hit over in Britain, I'm going, holy cats. Holy cats. What's going on? But it shouldn't surprise anybody that is watching what's going on. It shouldn't surprise anybody, because what is happening is extraordinary, and they don't want anybody to know it. I just found another earthquake that just happened over here just south of the Denali National Park area. This is a 1.5 tremor south of Denali, approximately 3 kilometers east-northeast of Petersville, Alaska. 3 kilometers east-northeast of Petersville, Alaska, southern Denali National Park. We have a couple other earthquakes that I want to show you here. I want to go up here into central Alaska here, just south of Denali here. This is a 1.8 tremor. This is southeast of Chase, Alaska. Southeast of Chase, Alaska. USGS has this as northeast of Chase, Alaska. USGS cannot be trusted. They can't be trusted. This earthquake over here in the northeastern part of Denali National Park, they say is 56 kilometers northeast of Petersville. I don't trust that location. They need to say it is in northeastern Denali National Park. We have one other earthquake over here in Denali. This is a 1.8 tremor here. Northwestern Denali National Park. USGS has it 66 kilometers west-southwest of Cantonville, Alaska. Again, they don't want anybody to know what's happening. Look where these earthquakes are happening, especially this one I have here with my cursor. Look here, over on here, on the northwestern side of Denali. See this red line? This is an earthquake fault. This is an earthquake fault, a major fault zone. This is part of the North American plate. Look where it goes. From the southern part of Denali all the way down here to the Cook Inlet here, and all the way up here past Denali, and it curves back down here into Alaska here at Yakutak, Alaska. The edge of the plate. The edge of the plate. And it continues to go here all the way down through Alaska, and it goes over here into northwestern Canada. Northwestern Canada. It follows the Canadian Rocky Mountains here, all the way down here through British Columbia, Canada, into the United States here. The Rocky Mountains. Okay? Just briefly, and I don't want to spend much time here in Washington State tonight, or Oregon. Just briefly, a 0.8 microquake, Manchester, Washington. Naturally, they're not telling us the truth, because this is not the only seismic event here. They're not telling us the truth at all. Not at all. Over here, Mount Rainier. USGS is calling this a 0.2 microquake at Mount Rainier. There are a lot more microquakes, tremors, and 3.0, 3.5 earthquakes today at Mount Rainier. This other quake here, they're calling it 0.4 microquake. I'm sorry, USGS, tell the damn truth. Stop hiding information. Stop hiding information. You will be held responsible for what you're doing or not doing. We come down south here to Mossy Rock, Washington. 1.1 tremor here. 1.1 tremor here. We come down here to Mount St. Helens. USBS is saying this is 37 kilometers northeast of Amboy, Washington. Again, they're not properly telling us where this earthquake is. It is at Mount St. Helens. They say this is a 0.1 microquake here at Mount St. Helens. By the way, they're not telling the truth. There are plenty of microquakes, tremors, and 3.5 to 4.0 earthquakes hitting Mount St. Helens today. Again, USBS cannot be trusted. Not now, not ever. Over here in Vernonia, Oregon, a 1.0 tremor here. And you don't see any other earthquakes happen here until we go further south into California here. Willits, California. A 2.2 magnitude earthquake here at Willits. Folks, this is not the only earthquake here. Again, they don't want to be truthful about what's going on. Then we come south here. Talmadge, California. A 1.5 tremor here. Then we come over here to Sonoma County. Can anybody tell me what's going on here in Sonoma County? Right here. This is the geysers. This is the geysers area, guys. This is where men and women have drilled into the upper magma chambers of this volcano right here. Clear Lake volcano. They drilled into the upper magma chambers of this volcano, and they're pulling steam from this volcano to power turbines down here in this geysers facility. This geysers facility is a geothermal facility that has 80 turbines. 80 turbines here that take that steam and turn it into electricity. For Pacific Gas and Electric, Rocky Mountain Power, powering Utah, and 2 other energy conglomerates here. A total of 4 energy conglomerates getting power from the geysers facility. 80 turbines here now. It used to be only 36 or 40. Now they've expanded it to 80 over the last year. Okay? That's a big deal. That's a big deal. Further south here, on the Calaveras Fault. The Calaveras Fault. We have a 2.5 earthquake here. Should you be concerned about it? Yes. Absolutely yes. The Calaveras Fault runs like this. Runs down here on the eastern side of the Bay Area. We have one other fault zone here. It's called the Hayward Fault. Running from way up here all the way down south to the edge of the San Francisco Bay Area. And further south past that until it gets right here near Monterey Bay. The Hayward Fault. On the same token, the Calaveras Fault also comes down here and gets right near the Hayward Fault, right here. We have the San Andreas Fault right here. Three of the most dangerous fault zones are right down here, just east of Monterey Bay and south of San Francisco Bay. Okay? Up here on the southwestern side of San Francisco Bay, we have a 1.6 tremor up here near Burlingame, California. Near Burlingame, California. This should not be too much of a concern. It's a tremor. Unless we see larger earthquakes coming down this area, this earthquake itself doesn't pose too much of an issue. Down here further south on the San Andreas Fault, San Juan Bautista also has a 1.7 tremor here. And further south, also on the San Andreas here, guess what? A 2.0 in the Pinnacles. 2.0 minor earthquake in the Pinnacles. Right here, San Lucas, California. This is a 2.2 magnitude earthquake. We don't see any earthquakes here along the San Andreas Fault. What is this? Earthquake capital of the world. It used to be said it was the earthquake capital of California. We don't see any earthquakes here. Are they just not telling us? Probably. Because this town, and we talked about it over and over during the past 5 years that I've been on the air, is the earthquake capital of not just California, but the world. This town right here has more earthquakes in this town than anywhere else. It's on the San Andreas Fault. The San Andreas Fault here has altered this town. They've had to relay roadways here in this town because the San Andreas Fault has moved. There is one building in this town where they've had to realign the building because the San Andreas Fault moved and it off-shifted the two buildings. They had to reconnect the buildings, but they're no longer right next to each other. One is offset from the other. So again, just showing us that there's nothing here doesn't mean it's true. Okay? I want to make that clear too. Now, I'm going to get back to earthquakes in a short while. I want to introduce you to a man that I consider to be very important. A man that I consider to be very important. I have mentioned to you this man's name over the past 2 days. I've mentioned his name to a lot of people during the past 5 years. For those of you that have been with me for this time, you may have noticed who this person was. I'm trying to find a picture of him to show you real quick here. My computer is not cooperating here. I'm trying to enlarge this picture so you can see it. This man is named Ezra Benson. I love and appreciate this man. I very much love and appreciate this man. He has given us a lot of knowledge. He's given us a warning to America. He's given us a warning to America that I believe everyone needs to hear. I am going to play a short record, or I should say an audio file, not a record, but I'm going to play a short audio file here of Ezra Benson speaking about the absolute necessity of understanding how deep we are into the last days and what we expect to have happen. Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, please hear Ezra Benson, former Secretary of Agriculture to President Eisenhower.
Definitely threatened, and every citizen should know about it. The warning of this hour should resound through the corridors of every American institution, schools, churches, the halls of Congress, press, radio, and TV. And so far as I am concerned, and I'm sure so far as you are concerned, it will resound with God's help. Our republic and its Constitution are being destroyed while the enemies of freedom are being aided. How? In at least 10 ways. First, by diplomatic recognition and aid, trade, and negotiations with the communists. 2, by disarmament of our military defenses. 3, by destruction of our security laws and the promotion of atheism by decisions of the Supreme Court. 4, by loss of sovereignty and solvency through international commitments and membership in world organizations. 5, by undermining of local law enforcement agencies and congressional investigating committees. 6, by usurpations by the executive and judicial branches of our federal government. 7, by lawlessness in the name of civil rights. 8, by a staggering national debt with inflation and a corruption of the currency. 9, by a multiplicity of executive orders and federal programs which greatly weaken local and state governments. And 10, by the sacrificing of American manhood by engaging in wars we apparently have no intention of winning. Wherever possible, I have tried to speak out. It is for this very reason that certain people in Washington have bitterly criticized me. They don't want people to hear the message. It embarrasses them. The things which are destroying the Constitution are the things they have been voting for. They are afraid of their political careers if these facts are pointed out. They therefore try to silence any who carry the message. anyone who will stand up and be counted. By 1962, these American liberals had almost completely neutralized the resurgence of American patriotism. They had frightened uninformed citizens away from study groups and patriotic rallies. They had made it popular to call patriotism a controversial subject, which should not be discussed in school assemblies or churches. From Washington, D.C., the FCC, Federal Communications Commission, issued an edict to radio and television stations that if they allowed the controversial subjects of Americanism, anti-communism, or states' rights to be discussed on their stations, they would be required to give equal time free of charge to anyone wishing to present an opposite view. Can you imagine this happening in a free country? I said to my family, it is fantastic that anything like this could have happened in America. Now we should all be opposed to socialistic communism, for it is our mortal and spiritual enemy, the greatest evil in the world today. But the reason many liberals don't want the American people to form study groups, to really understand and then fight socialistic communism, is that once the American people get the facts, they will begin to realize that much of what these liberals advocate is actually helping the enemy. The liberals hope you believe them when they tell you how anti-communist they are. But they become alarmed if you really inform yourself on the subject of socialistic communism. For after you inform yourself, you might begin to study the liberal voting record. And this study would show you how much the liberals are giving aid and comfort to the enemy, and how much the liberals are actually leading America towards socialism itself.
Okay, I'm going to stop it here. Only because you all can go and watch it for yourselves.
Once the American people get the facts, they will begin to realize that much of what these liberals advocate is actually helping the enemy.
Okay, again, I'm going to stop it there because you guys can go and watch it yourselves. I've given you the information. It's now up to you all, everyone, you and your families, your friends, your neighbors, everybody, to do your own research. Because what has happened and what Ezra Benson said right there was in 1964. 1964. And what is happening in the United States right now is exactly what Ezra Taft Benson was talking about. Everything, point by point. All 10 points that he pointed out have happened. Our government has been sold out to the communists. The Democrat Communist Party, the Democrat Communist Republican Party, and yes, they have joined forces now. It's no longer just conservatives. It's no longer just conservatives. The conservatives have joined the Democrat communists. I wish it was otherwise. Common Card Auction says this is overreaching and disturbing. Yes, it is. But it is not overreaching. It is highly disturbing. And anyone that calls it anything else but that is playing up to the communists. And you are also responsible for selling out the United States, Britain, and all of our other allies that stand together to fight the evil Communist Party. It's not just Russia. It's not just Russia, but any other government in the world that supports communism. Wilson says the Unity Party communists. Yes. But it's not just those. The Communist Party throughout the world is what we're worried about, because these people have taken over our country, lock, stock, and barrel. Someone asked me earlier this morning, when I was pulling information for our program tonight, they said, what about our energy stores? What energy stores do we have? They even showed me a picture of the energy reserves, our supposed energy reserves. Joseph Biden, the supposed President of the United States, has sold our strategic oil reserves to the Chinese communists. He's also given more oil and gas over to Ukraine as well. And yet, what did he and his son do in Ukraine before he even became president? He was paid by the Ukrainian government through his son and other family members, bringing money from Ukraine over to the Biden family, the Biden crime family. Joe Biden is a traitor to this country, along with every other member of his administration. If President Trump was to take office right now and to try to turn things around, President Trump would have a lot of problems. Why? Why do you think he'd have a lot of problems? Because suddenly President Trump would be having to arrest some 200 people immediately. Some 200 people immediately in Washington, D.C. alone. President Trump would have to arrest them immediately and put them in prison for being a traitor to the country. But those people are not the only people that have turned heel on our U.S. government, on our country. There are thousands of others spread out through the entire United States and around the world that have also stabbed the United States in the back, stabbed our allies, Britain, France, and other countries in the back, because they're not willing to stand with the truth. They are not willing to stand up and recognize reality. That is the long and the short of it. They don't want the United States to continue as it has during the past 100 years. They have sold out our government. Completely sold out our government. Sold out our country. Susan Wright says God wins in the end. God does win in the end. But right now I'm trying to put out the word of warning to all of you and your families, your friends, your neighbors, everybody. We're done for. I'm not willing to just toss in the towel. I'm not willing to hold up a white flag and surrender. What I am telling you is that we need to stand together. We need to stand together now. We can turn this around. We can turn the communist clock backwards. But it's going to take all of us. Literally all of us. Why? Why is it going to take all of us? Don't we have peace in our countries? What have we seen happening in our countries around the world that are allies of the United States? And what are we having done right now in the United States itself? We have been invaded by illegal aliens to our countries. We have people that have unlawfully come into our country from over 140 other countries around the world. including enemies of our states. These enemies are now protesting against the United States. They say they're protesting Israel. They're not. Yes, they can bring Israel into it as well because that is their game right now. But they're really protesting the United States. And Biden is not doing a damn thing to stop it. Biden is not doing one thing to stop it. He's letting it go. The only thing that Biden has said this week is said it won't be tolerated. Really? It won't be tolerated. What did he tell the police when the police started arresting people in Austin, Texas earlier this week? Oh, be good to them. They're not really bad. You might just want to arrest them and release them. Don't hold them and press charges against them. What has happened at all of the universities and colleges around the globe? The same tents that I showed you last night, the same green tents are on every campus and in every city around the globe. Why? Those people can't afford those kind of tents. Who bought them? Who bought them? George Soros, Bill Gates, and others of the elites, Klaus Schwab. Those elites have spent millions of dollars to take over the United States and turn it upside down. Belzil is asking why is the video full screen? It's not. It's only half screen. And I'm sorry about that. Shortly you're going to see us on our computer every day. But tonight I wanted to give you this message and reach the most people that we can possibly reach tonight. This is important. If you want to save your countries, if you want to save your cities, your towns, your neighborhoods and people, you need to listen to this message. Listen to what Ezra Benson had to say. It could save you. It could very much save you. I have hesitated to show that message because I was afraid I might get a copyright strike. But other people have also shown it. But I believe Ezra Benson, EZRATAFTBENSON, Ezra Taft Benson. Okay? You can find his speech on YouTube. It's literally everywhere. You can find his speech all over YouTube. I anguished over the possibility of not showing that speech or even talking about it. This is a very important speech. Okay? It's called Stand Up for Freedom. Ezra Taft Benson gave this talk back in 1964. It's called Stand Up for Freedom. It's about a 45-minute speech. You can go and watch the rest of it. And there's another speech that's called This Nation Shall Endure. Both speeches are very important because what Ezra Taft Benson has said is happening right now. Our countries are being taken over. Our countries are being taken over. There's a civil war going on. Whether anybody wants to realize it or not, there is a civil war going on. Our country has a lot of people in it. Like I said, we have been invaded. We have been invaded. And unless we stop this invasion, and I'm talking almost immediately, we're toast. Folks, there was one man that came up and called me an old fart. I don't really give a flying rat's frosty keister what he might think. He is just a troll. He doesn't want this information getting out either. But guess what? It is not only out, but it's going to stay out. And we are not going to tolerate crap from anybody. Okay? As I have told you, I am here for you. I have always been here for you. Standing here with you, side to side, shoulder to shoulder. I believe in this country. I believe in our allies, all of our friends around the world. Some of our friends are here in this chat right now, from literally all over the world. I stand with you. I stand with each of you because I care. I care about our livelihoods. I care about our lives. I care about what we're doing with our families. I care about our children and what they're going to have to face in the coming months and years. And our grandchildren and their welfare going forward. I do not want this country to be turned into Russia. I don't want this country to be turned into anything but what it has been. A country that stands for freedom around the world. There has been maybe one other president that's even given a damn. One other president that's come out of nowhere. That the CIA, the FBI, and the Democrat Communist Party could not stop. And yes, they lambasted him. That president, Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan. Folks, this is serious. We need to stand for freedom. We need to stand for democracy. We need to stand for ourselves. If you're not willing to stand for yourselves, get off the boat and go someplace else. Go fight with the communists over at the college campuses of Columbia, Harvard, Yale, New York, Atlanta, UCLA, USC, Austin, Texas, University of Texas in Austin. Go ahead and go over with those communists because that's where you belong. Better yet, go get a passport and fly to Russia and just see how your freedoms are going to be there. If you want to go to Russia, go ahead. Get out of town. I'll help you pack and kick you in the butt to get out of here. I'm getting very serious about this. Anything other than democracy and the Republic of the United States is what I want to see. Anything else called liberation or liberalism is not in my lexicon. Okay? I would rather die than live in communism. I would rather die than have my children and my grandchildren live under communist rule. I'd rather die. Folks, we're in that area right now. We have to make a decision amongst ourselves. I have talked a lot about standing up for yourself, standing for something. There is a good friend of mine, a very dear friend of mine, that wrote a book. Let me get it for you. Right here. Standing for Something. Written by Gordon B. Hinckley. The man who gave a foreword to this book, named William J. Bennett, is a friend of mine. He said, "We live in an age in which traditional beliefs have been attenuated, ridiculed, and mocked. We desperately need leaders who will defend them. And just as important, we need leaders who will explain why they're worth defending." Which is why Gordon B. Hinckley's book is so valuable. Timely, intelligent, practical, and readable. Standing for something is an important contribution to the national discussion. Stephen R. Covey said, "I absolutely love this book. Every chapter breathes profound wisdom, insight, and optimism, articulated by one of the inspired leaders of our day. These 10 timeless values, if lived, will literally heal our hearts, our homes, our country, and our world." The late Senator Joseph Lieberman also wrote a foreword here. President Gordon B. Hinckley has written a wise and inspiring book. He looks at all that ails our society today and offers the most powerful cure, faith in God, and the virtues that emanate from his voice in this book. His voice in this book is prophetic and full of love. People of all religions will benefit from reading it, standing for something, and society will gain a reputation too of love. Because this book should lead its readers to stand for something. Brothers and sisters, I highly recommend this book. I have it in my own library. I've read it many times. I had to share a chapter a day with you. And yes, I could do that, but I would not do anything else but read the chapter to you. This book is very valuable. I've talked a lot about standing for something, and I stand before you tonight highly agitated because of the way our world situation is, the way my country is. Because what happens in my own country reflects what is going on worldwide. I want to stand for something. It's very evident to all of you what I stand for. My voice is the voice of reason. My voice is a voice to hear me, to understand why we're here. I want to make sure that everybody gets it. I want to make sure everybody understands the importance of what I'm talking about. Because your own salvation is what's going to keep you above water. Your own salvation. God is the one who is leading our country. But the leadership has been watered down. God has been thrown out of our schools. God has been thrown out of our government. The president of this country took an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States from all enemies, foreign and domestic. What did he do the first day he was in office? He turned everything upside down and opened the borders, allowing enemies of our country to infiltrate our country. We cannot even identify exactly who's here because over 8 million people have infiltrated this country from all countries of the world. Joe Biden can't even defend his own life. The Secret Service can't even protect him because the Secret Service can't even protect itself. The FBI can't protect itself either, and the other 3-letter agencies all throughout this country because they're in it up to their heads. Every one of them. They have been planning the downfall of this country and all the nations around the world. They have been planning this for a very long time. The leaders that were over in Davos, Switzerland earlier this year are responsible, and they're still feeding Joey Biden. They're applauding what he's doing. What do you think is going to happen in November? What do you think is going to happen in November? Does anybody have an idea? What is going to happen in November? Susan Wright, I'm sorry you can't say this in this chat. You cannot mention another man's channel or another woman's channel in this chat without first getting my permission. Yes, there are some people that I would allow, but you need to first put it by me first. I had to remove your chat. I want you to stand for something. I want you to realize that we're all in this together. There is never once in the time of my life where we have stood across the table from each other, against each other. Jackie's saying Civil War, ? Yes. We are in the midst of a civil war. Those of you who say we're not don't realize where we're at. Sweet Polly, purebred, scolded by Ron. No, I'm not scolding. I'm just putting out the warning. One of the reasons I don't allow anything to be put in my chat before I am notified is because we have had people that put porn in the chat. I won't allow that either. So unless you send me a note ahead of time and get my approval, sorry, it's not going on my air. It's not going in my chat. Okay? Sleeping Volcano says if Biden declares we will not have elections. Guess what? We're not going to have an election in November. Biden has tentatively agreed to debate President Trump. If Biden were to debate President Trump right now, he would lose. And he would lose 110%. Biden couldn't debate his way out of a paper bag. That's number one. Number two, he would have people whispering in his ear, telling him what to say. Biden can't even spell a word, let alone put together one sentence congruently. We are in a civil war. Right now. Right now. Susan Wright says martial law from civil unrest. That's what we're at. Look what happened at UCLA and USC this past week. Look at what happened in Austin. The police had to go in and declare a trespass order. The police had to go in and call an unlawful assembly, a trespass order. Then they went in when these people decided they weren't going to leave. The police went in there and made arrests. They went in with tasers and pepper spray. And then I heard words coming from the protesters that I expected to hear. Oh, they're picking on me. Oh, that hurts. Why are they doing this to me? I didn't deserve this. I haven't done anything. Bull crap. If you're against our country, you don't belong here. If you're against Israel, go protest in Palestine and see how far that gets you. I have heard protesters chanting, "We are Hamas." Hamas is a dedicated terrorist organization. Hamas has been recognized as a United States terrorist organization for years now. And yet we have these people that are saying, "We are Hamas." Those people should be arrested and deported out of this country immediately. They should not be allowed to protest one more minute. If they are Hamas, they're part of an international terrorist organization, and they should be taken care of right now. Right now. Ginger Gal said they're putting fencing around Washington University in St. Louis. Putting up fencing to prevent damage to property, because they know these protesters are not peaceful protests. Biden said they're not going to allow anything but peaceful protests. Guess what? Biden doesn't have the sense that God gave him. Charlie says Biden should go as well. I agree. Susan Wright says he's hiding in the WEF. I agree. Okay? Every one of the leaders that we've talked to and talked about in the past are part of the problem. They are part of the problem. Folks, I've been watching this. I've been watching it for a long time. There is a reason that I have not been a politician myself. I have thought about it. James Brecka says he has a hard time looking up Palestine on the map. Go over to the world map. Go over to Google Earth and Google Israel. Then look south of Israel and you'll come to the Gaza Strip. The Gaza Strip is part of Palestine. Okay? Missouri Boat Ride is saying in the chat, and I agree somewhat with this, instead of sending them to jail, they should have made them clean the mess up themselves. I agree. And then put them in handcuffs and send them on a plane back to Palestine. Send them on a plane back to Gaza and let's see how long they last in Gaza. See how long they last. They would not last long. Charlie says the Congress of the United States voted today to ban the Bible today. I have not heard that. I have not heard that. Please, guys, unless you have information, and send me the information so I can verify it. If Congress voted to ban the Bible, we are in a worse situation than we could possibly be in. Wilson is asking, how many three-letter NGOs are there? There are a bunch of three-letter NGOs, but most of the three-letter agencies that I know should not even be here. They should be banned, disbanded, and thrown out of this country. Susan Wright says it's buried in the anti-Semitic bill. It's crap. If that has happened, it's crap. And if the Republicans let it go and didn't stand up to protest it, the Republican Party should be disbanded and thrown out of this country along with the Democrat communists. Okay? American Mutt says, Ron, I've heard that Palestine was a name given to the area by a Roman emperor that named it Palestine to insult the Jews by using a name similar to Philistine. That probably is true. I have a little bit of a program of information I want to talk about when it comes to Israel and the country of Israel where it is and why it stands and why the United States has stood for Israel. Okay? I may put that together and put it out to you because I feel, and I put it out on my Facebook page for those of you that want to go read it. Just a second. Like I said, I won't stand for crap from nobody. I consider my program and my chat my own living room, my own home. If you want to be a troll, go someplace else, because you will not be here. I just banned somebody else just a minute ago. And I will ban who I want to ban and get rid of them. If you want to be here, you're going to understand one thing. Number one, you can call me names. That doesn't piss me off. What pisses me off is you make fun of what we're talking about. You're just as bad as those people that are out protesting, destroying our country. Okay? That's honest to God truth. These actions by these criminals, these terrorist organizations in our country, have been around for a long time. Now they have put in our forefront right now, this day, put in front of us, and they're waving their finger at us. They're waving their finger at us saying, oh, you guys can't do anything about it. It's too late. Guess what, guys? It's not too late. And you can call me an old man all you want. I don't give a flying rat's frosty keister. But I also won't allow you to denigrate me or our mods or our other EMA family. Not now, not ever. So go someplace else and bark up your own trees. This is no laughing matter. Nan says, exactly, this is no laughing matter. During this past, I want to say, last few weeks, I've been wanting to make this speech, and I brought it forth tonight. I brought it forth tonight because right now is as good a time as ever to start to take our country back. And we can do that. But we can only do that if all of us come together and say, we've had it. And we're not going to take it anymore. That's what it's going to take. That's what it's going to take. We need to take our country back. We need to take our government back. And anybody that stands in our way will go bye-bye. Exactly that. We have police in our country. We have police in our cities and states. The police, for the most part, will stand with what I'm saying. I promise you that. I promise you that. Every sheriff that I know of here in the United States would not put up with this for 1 minute. We have constitutional sheriffs throughout this country. Born and bred, willing to stand up for truth and righteousness and, quote, the American way. We need to stand together, brothers and sisters, and if we don't, we're screwed. We will be screwed. I promise you that. I promise you that. Now this evening, I've also promised you that I would talk about emergency preparedness, and I plan on doing that right now. I plan on doing that right now. Right now, we need it. We need it. Okay? I want to talk to you about having an emergency preparedness kit. I've talked about it a lot. I've talked about this a lot. But I have a feeling that there are a lot of people that don't even listen to me. I am giving you every reason tonight to pay attention to what's going on. But you need to have an emergency preparedness kit. The preparedness kit can prepare you to get through an earthquake, to get through a tornado, to get through a fire and a flood, to get through a hurricane, or any other disaster that could happen, including these bozos that are tearing our country apart. You need to have an emergency preparedness kit, guys. James Brecka, I have no idea why your super chat can't go through. I don't know what's going on. I've been told that our super chats can go through. I just checked and I have the ability to send a super chat now, so you should also. If you can't get a super chat through and you want to support us, right after this program is over, within the 15 minutes after this program is over, I will put up a program description just below this video tonight. I'll put up the program description, and in the top of the program description, it will show our email. It will show our P.O. Box. It's 104 North Green Street, Box 105, Morganton, North Carolina. Zip code is 28655. I love to get cards. I love to get letters. It's been a long while since we've gotten cards and letters. Please do send me a card or letter. I love that. I really do. Wilson just gave us a $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Wilson. We appreciate that. I just gave you an Emergency Management Associate sticker. Thank you so much. God be with you, and God bless you for that. Now, Missouri Boat Ride is here in the chat saying Ron is giving you good advice because he cares about you. And I truly do. Missouri Boat Ride said, listen to him about having an emergency preparedness plan ready. I have asked everybody for 5 years to have a preparedness plan. How many of you have done that? How many of you have taken a notebook? I've got several notebooks here in the desk drawer of my desk. It's not just in my desk drawer though. It's up here on my bookshelf. I have an emergency preparedness plan here. I have written over 100 emergency preparedness plans during the past 5 years, maybe even more than that. Folks, everybody needs it. Okay? Also, under this video tonight, within 15 minutes after I get off the air, I will put up that program description besides my email or address, or you can send donations to us. We also have 2 PayPal locations. Last night, I also realized I had a Cash App. You can also send us donations through the Cash App if you have Cash App. I've had it, but I have not really used it at all, period. But I do have that if you want to send a donation through there. James Bareka, I appreciate you being in the chat. He says, I have bug out bags with identical items in multiple locations because I believe in redundancy. I also believe in redundancy. Richard Smith, my dear friend from Nova Scotia. I've been working my bug out gear as of late. Thank you so much, Wilson. Thank you so much, Richard. Thank you so much, James. You need to have this. This is essential. My buddy Don Patoka, who's a mod on our channel, is here in the chat. Bug out backpacks, backpack kits. Go over into the chat and read what he said. It's worth getting a bug out bag. Some people have totes. I have bug out bags and totes. I have backpacks and totes. I have a lot of equipment that I put together over the years. Now, I'm going to talk about how to pack everything you need in case of an emergency. Whether we get hit with a 4.0 moderate earthquake, or we get hit with a 5.0, 6.0, or major 7.0 plus earthquake, or any other kind of disaster. Seismic activity is getting larger around the globe. Ginger Gal says nowhere to bug out to. I'm sure you can find a place that's relatively safe near where you live. Okay? Safe is a relative word. Safe is a relative word. You can find a safe place or relatively safe place someplace in your area. There are places to bug out to if you have to leave your home. You can also make the decision to shelter in place, in which your bug out bag or your emergency preparedness kit doubles as your lifeline in your home to keep you alive. Your emergency preparedness plan will give you an idea what you already want to do, so you don't forget anything. It's very easy to forget something if we are in a rush or we have a deadline on top of us. A lot of years ago, and this goes back about, I want to say 10 years ago, I had a family member. A fire was over in American Fork Canyon in Utah. The fire was up in the canyon, but it was rapidly spreading and going westbound. I could see flames from my family member's home. I won't identify that family member right now. I don't want to call any hate and discontent on him. He just refused to go with the idea that he had to leave. I drove over to his home from my home and was there to help he and his wife pack for themselves and their children to get out of their home. As that fire was coming down the canyon towards his home, you could see the flames. You could see the heavy black and gray smoke going from the canyon. It was not until a sheriff's deputy knocked on his door and told us to get the hell out right now. That's what the sheriff said. Get the hell out right now. My family member says, why? The sheriff's deputy said, it doesn't matter why, it matters right now. I gave you a lawful order, you need to leave right now. I explained to the deputy I was an emergency manager, and that I was here to help he and his family pack their things up and get out. It wasn't until that point that my own family members were not willing to do something to save themselves. The emergency was in front of them and they were not prepared. That is why I'm doing what I have to do here. That's what I'm doing, trying to help you now, so that you can be prepared. Richard Smith is in Canada. He says he can't have nugs, but there are many other ways to defend yourselves. Absolutely true. We have many emergency management associate family members all over the globe. Many in Canada, where Canada is banned having any nugs by private citizens. It's bad. It's bad. At one point in time, years ago, I was even thinking of moving to Canada myself. And I was willing to smuggle my nugs into Canada. That would have meant if they found them, they would arrest me and nobody would ever see me again. I'm trying to help you. I can only go so far. You need to listen to what I'm saying. As our family members have stated tonight, you need to listen to Ron. He's trying to help us. We just had over 118 people watching our program. Now we're down to 109. Whether YouTube did it or they just got up and left. because of what we're talking about. Seismic energy is getting larger, and more energy is coming around, threatening our lives. We are already getting into fire season. We're already approaching hurricane season. Tornadoes and earthquakes are all around us. This past weekend, we saw people killed as a result of tornadoes. Entire communities devastated because of tornadoes. It's only going to get worse. Linda Covington in the chat just now said the LDS Church has for years been preaching to its members to get prepared, to store up all essentials, water, food, and self-protection, etc. It's true. The LDS Church has been stressing it for years, to the effect that the LDS Church has held preparedness fairs on their property and in their buildings to try to get their neighborhoods and friends over there to talk about emergency preparedness to save people's lives. That's why they've done it. That's why, one reason why I'm doing it today. My parents asked me back in the 80s to try to help them at their church, to talk about emergency preparedness, to try to help them put on a survival dinner, only using the foodstuffs that they have in their houses. Using the foodstuffs that you would have in your house during an emergency. We did it. My parents and my dad's brother and his wife came from San Francisco to help me and my parents show people how to use the food in their home and how to make it last. It can be done. Believe me, it can be done because I do it all the time. Just to give you an idea, this past Saturday, there was what shall I say? The church down the street had a era day where people could dress up in any different era. The 70s, 60s, dress as a hippie. You could dress as someone from the 70s or someone from the 80s and play the music, and they did. They played music from every generation. It was great. One of the things I came to that get-together with is something that I learned to eat when I was in Sweden, back in the 70s, when I lived in Sweden. In English, people call it quiche. In Sweden, we called it cheese pie. And it's awesome. It takes some butter, something we all have in our homes. It takes some cheese, naturally. It takes some milk. It takes 3 eggs. And you can cut up green onions and put them in the mix. You mix it all up, put it in a pie. You want to make a crust for your pie pan, and put the crust in the oven about 10 minutes ahead of time to bake the crust. Then you take it out of the oven and put the pie filling in it and put it in the oven until it's golden brown. It's something that you can make yourself. Something that you can make yourself from food that you have in your home. The food that you might have in your emergency preparedness kit. I showed how easy it was to do it. And I showed them the food and people loved it. I showed them my cheese pie, my Swedish cheese pie. Everybody loved it. I'm talking about it only now because I want to tell you it's easy. And you can make food yourself from food that you have in your home right now. You don't have to wait for a devastating quake or a tornado or a fire or any kind of other emergency, including hurricanes. You can get ready now. Wilson says Ron also has a cooking class. I could conduct a cooking class. My wife has put together recipes that I've taught her. She's also put together recipes that she has from her family, and together we've had recipes that we both like, and so we have our own cookbook. And yes, I could teach you that. It's easy. Tony says you can make a quiche without crust. You probably could. Okay? I just like to have my crust. It's good. Delete Fun says we could eat 6 days a week from our food storage plants. I agree. You can, and I hope you will. I seriously hope you will. Because in doing so, you're going to gain more knowledge of what to look for when you need activity. When you need to get down to brass tacks and cook from something that you may already have in your house, you need to do it. You need to do it. Because nobody is going to do it for you. Nobody's going to do it for you. Now, I have people talking about my teeth. I'm not even going to go into that right now. My teeth are what they are right now because I was paying child support and paying money to an ex-wife that didn't care about me and took our children to the emergency room every day. And I was paying a $100 emergency room bill every time my ex would take my kid to the emergency room. So bad that at one point, doctors were calling me to make sure that they were going to tell me that I had to make other arrangements to treat my kids because they would not allow my kids in another emergency room. I was taking my hard-earned money to pay for my kids, and there was nothing wrong with that. My ex was using my money as a tool against me. I'm sorry I don't have much teeth right now. I'm working on that. You guys are helping me. We had 118 people here in the chat, or here watching our program a few minutes ago. Now that number is down to 85. 86 now. That's sad. That's sad. That tells me that there are probably 30 people that don't give a heck about themselves or their families. They don't want to hear the truth because it might cost them something. It might get them to do something that they don't want to do. While emergencies can be terrifying, if you're not prepared, it's going to make matters worse. That's why we're saying what we're saying now. I want you to be prepared for whatever happens. Having an emergency preparedness kit will help you. It will help you keep your sanity. It will help you keep your sanity when everyone else is losing theirs. Writing your own emergency preparedness plan on what you're going to do given any emergency that can possibly be thrown at you. Having a plan will help you. Having a plan will help you. Not having a plan and not having a preparedness kit will be terrifying to you. Then you're going to say, I wish I would have paid attention. Okay? Please, pay attention to what we're saying right now. It's important. According to the most recent study of the USGS, nearly half of Americans live in earthquake-prone areas. 80% of people in the United States live in an area prone to tornadoes. 50% of Americans live in an area that might get hit by an earthquake or a hurricane. What I'm saying is everyone will have an emergency at some point in your life. Everyone is going to have an emergency at some point in your life. And you might as well get ready now, because at some point it'll be too late. At some point it's going to be too late. If you don't do something about it now, it's too late. Okay? Right now, one of my buddies, Brokefish N, who's in our chat, who's also a dear friend of mine, who's also a mod on our program. He said it's springtime. Time for us to check, and a good check, and make sure that our supplies are not outdated. If your supplies are outdated, you have a choice of what you're going to do. Take the chance on opening that can. It's probably going to be okay to open it if it's not bulging. If that can of something, whatever it is bulging, don't open it. Do not open it. Toss it out. Open it could expose you to bacteria in the air that could cause all kinds of things to happen to your respiratory system. Don't open it. If it's bulging, there's a reason. The food in it has gone bad. Okay? Don't open it, toss it out. Don't necessarily rely on Best Buy dates. Best Buy dates are only put there by the manufacturer to make sure you're going to use that food by a certain date. Many Best Buy dates are wrong. Some food could be good long past that. Watch what you're buying and watch the dates and watch the ingredients of what's in those products. Whether it be a can or a package or a box, whatever it is, watch not just Best Buy dates, but what's in it. Okay? Watch that. Everyone should be reasonably prepared for whatever's going to happen, for any kind of emergency. People in California, Oregon, and Washington, even over on the East Coast, should definitely have an emergency preparedness kit and a plan. Because of all of you guys are the ones that are going to be hit by earthquakes. And people over in the New Madrid seismic zone. You need to have an emergency preparedness plan, and not just a preparedness plan, but a smart kit, a preparedness kit. Now, David Oglesby, who is a professor of geophysics at the University of California, Riverside, says we have known about the risks overall for a long time. Why have they not told people about it? Because they don't want people to know. I'm telling you about it. I'm telling you about it. Delete funds says store what you eat and eat what you store. Rotate. Rotate. Eat from your storage, but also replace what you eat. Rotate it. Put the new food in back of the older food and eat what you have. My wife and I have at least 6 months worth of food in our pantry here, and we're building that. This week we spent some money on building a garden. We bought potting soil. We bought containers to put plants in, to put seeds in to have plants. Watermelon, pumpkin, tomatoes, strawberries, squash, onions, lettuce, all kinds of vegetables. My wife earlier this week was saying, why don't we just buy it? It's cheaper to buy it. Well, she's going to find out how expensive it is to buy it when we have it in our garden on our patio. I've done that. I've done it in the past and we're doing it now. I have a good sized garden this year, and we are going to make it work. Last year I had some tomatoes and it didn't necessarily go too well. Eventually Mike just gave us another $5 super chat. Thank you so much for that. We definitely appreciate it. God bless you for that. And I gave you an EMA sticker too. Thank you so much. Folks, it's for us. Everything we're talking about is for all of us. Don't let anything get in the way of putting in your own garden. Joey Biden and his Democrat communists said that, oh my gosh, we're going to keep the gardens away from people, and they want to fine people for having gardens. And they say they're going to confiscate people's food from their gardens. Really? They're going to confiscate our food? Guess what? They try to do that with me, and they're going to have a little seed about that long facing them in their face. Because I won't tolerate them taking what I have away from me and my family. Sorry, it doesn't go that way. Diane Kelman says what I say, over my dead body. Or yours. Go ahead. Make the decision. Yours or mine. But guess what? I've got the element of surprise for you. Okay? Susan Wright is here in our chat saying, make a water distiller. That is another option. Jackie says, planting another garden this year. That's what I want to hear. I would love to have all of you send me emails or letters telling me how you're doing things and what you're going to do and that you're happy doing what you're doing. I would love that. I would love for my mailbox to be flooded with cards and letters from you guys telling me what you're doing. That would make my day. Richard Smith says some places are illegal to collect rainwater. Colorado was one of those places here in the U.S. They were banning people to collect rainwater because various places around the Denver metro area, people had set up storage containers where the rainwater would come off the roof, down the downspout, and right into a storage container. Denver was fining people $500. Fining people $500 for collecting rainwater from their home. That's a bunch of crap. And pretty soon, the citizens of Denver rose up and said, no way. And Denver came out and revoked that law. And people tell me, oh, government doesn't care. Oh, you bet they do. When we stand up to them, they care. They listen. They listen. Because we pay their salaries. If we go up in front of them and protest to them, and we revoke their jobs from them, oh yeah, they will listen. They will listen. Okay? Now, Roguefish Ann is saying potatoes are easy to grow. It's easy. If you go to a store and you buy a bag of potatoes, if some of those potatoes already have sprouted eyes, guess what? Take those potatoes home. Cut a portion of the potato with the eye, cut it out, and take that eye and plant it. And all of a sudden, within a short while, you're going to have a potato growing. Or several potatoes growing. It's easy to do. You can go on the internet and it talks how to grow potatoes. I'm doing that. I'm going to do that. My wife the other day was saying, why don't we just buy our own potatoes? Guess what? It's easy enough to pull a potato out of your garden. And you can do that literally all year long. Linda Covington says air pollution makes water unsafe. You can make your water safe. You can store your own water and you can make it safe. Yes, air pollution makes it hard, but you can still purify it. Okay? There's a way to take all that chemicals and crap that's put into our air and make sure that you can do it. Okay? It's being done. Now, every family that I know, every family that I'm speaking here today, needs to have an emergency preparedness kit handy. It wouldn't hurt for everyone throughout the world, throughout the United States and throughout the world, to have one. The kinds of supplies you would need for an earthquake or a hurricane or a tornado or any other emergency, fires or whatever, are the kinds of supplies you would need for any other kind of emergency. Any other kind of natural disaster, a flood or hurricane, anything. You're going to have those kinds of supplies for whatever disaster you might confront yourself with. Okay? Linda Covington says build container beds above ground. That's what I've done on my patio. Above ground container beds. Now, let me talk to you about the essentials you're going to need. First off, you're not going to last very long during an emergency unless you have water. FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency here in the United States. I know I don't trust them. However, they're telling everyone to have at least 1 gallon per person per day. I'm telling people to have 3 gallons of water per person per day for cooking, sanitation, and even cleaning with. Cooking, sanitation, and cleaning with. If you have 1 gallon of water per person, it'll be kind of hard to do everything you're going to want to do. To have 3 gallons of water per person per day is going to make things an awful lot easier. Okay? So think about water. You're going to need water. You can't live very long without water. Maybe 3 days. Okay? You need to have enough water for at least 3 weeks to 3 months. During an emergency, FEMA can't come and help you. FEMA's not going to be available to help you because, one, their budget has also been cut. They don't have what they used to have because Joe Biden and Barack Obama have cut back their budget. They can't do half the things they used to. So you're going to have to make sure that you can take care of yourselves. The fire departments and police departments are only going to be responding to the utmost emergencies. So they're not going to be able to help you if you have a broken arm. You need to decide how you're going to take care of broken arms, or a broken finger, or anything like that. Or if you cut yourself, or worse things happen. You need to take care of yourselves. Okay? You need to take care of yourselves. Don't even think about the government trying to help you because they won't. They won't be able to. Police and fire departments will respond to the utmost emergencies, but for your individual neighborhood or your home, guess what? Unless there's a major fire or something worse, they're not going to be there. Okay? Wilson says 5 gallon buckets, you'll need at least 5. I've got 5 gallon containers, and I have a lot more water stored as well. A lot. Okay? Now, there's also some things you need to know about proper water storage. First, make sure that you change your water. I have my water set up where I'm using the old water to water my garden with. Then as soon as I have water that I've used in my water storage, I use that to water my garden and I replace it. I replace that water, so I always have fresh water to drink, fresh water for my pups to drink, and fresh food for all of us. Okay? Please do that. Make sure you keep your water safe. Okay? Yes, I am religious. Does that matter? Pay attention to what I'm saying, guys. Pay attention to what I'm saying. I'm not going to go off on a religious tangent tonight because I'm talking about something that's important. So unless you talk about something that's important, get out of here. You don't belong here. Stay on topic. Stay on topic with me because I want you to learn. I want you to learn. Okay? Okay. Store your water in something will hold up and won't break. Whether it be breaking because of the earth shaking, or some of your plastic bottles or glass bottles would break, make sure you store your water in something that is safe. Where something happens and it gets shaken up or whatever, it's not going to leak or go out and waste. Okay? Now, we've talked about water storage in the past on this program. I'm not going to get deep into it tonight because I have a lot of things I need to share with you. Some people have plastic jugs. I have some plastic jugs myself. And if it's stored for a while, I put 1 teaspoon of bleach in the water to keep it purified. Like I said, I use my older water for watering my garden. That way I always have good water here in my home for all of us to drink. Yellow water is great for composting. Absolutely it is. Richard Smith and Susan Rice says, I'm a good man, thank you. I appreciate that. But make sure you have a way to purify your water so it's always ready to use at any time. And there are many ways we can do this. If you want to have me talk about it next Friday, I will. 55-gallon jugs and how we did that. 55-gallon containers are great. And next week maybe I'll talk about how I did that. It's easy. It's easy. Okay? I guarantee you'll have fun with it. All right? Now, next, you need food. Stock up your emergency preparedness kit in your pantry with non-perishable canned foods and packaged foods. You need to at least start up with 72 hours worth of food. I've been telling everyone to have a 72-hour kit, and I continue to do so. But 3 days worth of food is nothing. I have many 72-hour kits here in my home. I have a supply kit that'll get me through for 6 months. I have 6 months worth of survival food here. It's taken me a long time to get there, but I have 6 months worth of survival food. You can get those. I love Patriot Foods. I love 4 Patriot Foods. They have some of the best foods and good prices as well. Call 4 Patriot Foods if you want survival foods and ask about their 72-hour kit. You need at least one of those or several of them, and they're fairly inexpensive. Okay? 72-hour food. Okay? You can do it. You can do it. Linda Covington is talking about Dollar Tree. Box milk. Whole milk. 2% milk. You can get that. Did you know that Dollar Tree is closing 1,000 of their stores? Yeah. Dollar Tree is closing their stores. Bad idea. I wish they'd stick around. Okay? We have powdered milk as well. If you mix it half and half with regular milk, it's great. You'll never have a problem. But if you just drink regular powdered milk, it has a little bit of taste. But you can do it. And you can use that powdered milk, put water with it, and drink it and use it to cook with. Okay? You can do that. Don Patoka is here in the chat, again, one of my dearest friends. He said dehydrated food, hardtack. Hardtack. Maybe one day I'll teach you how to make hardtack. Pemmican. How to make pemmican. MREs. Folks, I don't like MREs. Military MREs have a lot to be desired. You can get freeze-dried food in other ways without having to resort to just MREs. Okay? Life raft bars. They have survival bars over at For Patriots. They're awesome. Okay? Their survival bars are just as good as any one meal. They will provide you about 1,000 calories with one survival bar. They're awesome. Stock up your kit. You can start with non-perishable canned foods, packaged foods, whatever you want. But start. You can also use these prepared freeze-dried foods I keep talking about. Those are made available by a lot of different companies, including Emergency Essentials, beprepared.com. Emergency Essentials, beprepared.com. It's a great company. It's a great company. I have bought a lot of things from Emergency Essentials. Great company. Freeze-dried food. For Patriots food, it's great. Guaranteed for up to 25 years and longer. Okay? Make sure you keep these foods up to date. Make sure you rotate certain food items like medicine out of their kits and replace them with new items. You don't want expired food to be with you to make you sick. You need to have food that you can live on for however long you may need it. Additionally, keep in mind any special dietary needs of people in your family who might reasonably be using your kit with you. This includes pet food. Please don't ever forget your pets. If you have a pet, don't forget about them. It's incredibly important that you prepare food for them in case of an emergency as well. At least 3 weeks worth of food for you and them. Then work on 6 months. Then work on 1 year. If you have 1 year of food, work on 2 years of food. It can be done. It can be done fairly inexpensive and very easily if you prepare in advance. Your pets are family members. I've talked about this until I'm blue in the face, and I always will. I love my 4-legged family members. They are very important to me and my wife. Our kids pay more attention to my wife even than I do. And I love them. They follow my wife around like little kids. They love my wife. My wife and I love them. But don't forget their food, don't forget their water, and don't forget their toys, their blankies, their beds. Don't forget their toys because you want to keep them occupied, especially if you have a trained dog. Keep their training items close by. Keep your pets' toys close by as well. During an earthquake or other kind of emergency that's happening, your pets will feel your stress. And you definitely do not want an upset pet, an upset child. Keep them occupied. Keep them happy. It's a fairly easy thing to do. Remember, your dogs, your cats, your ferrets, your squirrels are a lot like each of us and our own children. They can become easily frightened by the tremendous power of an earthquake, or a power outage, or a major disaster, because they feel the stress that we're feeling. Please take care of them. Make sure that you can keep them occupied even when all else is falling apart around you. Because in keeping them occupied, you're going to keep yourself occupied, and everybody's going to be happy. Please teach them that they should know that they are loved. Tell them that. I tell each of our pups here, our pups are 15 years old. I treat them as my own children. Okay? I tell them every day, many times a day, that I love them, that their mom and I adore them. If I'm talking to Holly, for example, I tell Holly, Mom and I love you. Your sister Crystal loves you. I tell Crystal the same thing. Your mom and I love you. And Holly loves you. They need to know that. They need to hear that. In doing that, you're also teaching them that we're a family and we do things together and we love each other. Okay? Linda Covington says hers talk back. Mine talk back. Many of you have heard Holly and Crystal barking downstairs. They talk back. It's funny. They are loved. If they need medical help, make sure that you have plenty of supplies, not only to treat your human family, but your four-legged family members as well. Those are not just pets. They are family members. Take care of them. Something else that I've talked a lot about is having a battery-powered or hand-crank radio. I've shown you one of my hand-crank radios that's over here right now in my windowsill, because I'm keeping it charged. It's got a solar panel on the top and it charges there. It's also got a hand crank on the side of it. I can play my AM, FM weather, or AM radio, FM radio, or I can turn it over to my weather side and listen to the weather channel. During an emergency, the local authorities in your area and mine will use the weather channel as a way to communicate with all of us. That's why it is so important to have an AM, FM weather radio. If you don't have a weather side, make sure you have an AM, FM radio. Tune your radios and your televisions to a news talk station, a station that has news and weather. Those stations will broadcast the emergency information to you. Make sure you got it. Ready.gov also suggests a NOAA weather radio with a tone alert. I have a tone alert on all of my radios, including my police scanner here. My police scanner has the local police, the sheriffs, and the weather radio station in it programmed, and goes back and forth. The other thing you need to do is make sure you have extra batteries for your radios and your flashlights. All of your radios, all of them. Your handheld two-way radios, and I showed those to you before. Your CB radios or your family radio service radios, handheld radios. You can pick up those handheld radios for anywhere from $15 to $20 usually for two radios. You can spend up to $50 on these radios, but you're going to spend that money wisely because those radios have extra frequencies built into them, like GMRS, General Mobile Radio Service frequencies. Those are great. Wilson is asking, is a ham radio better or does it make a difference? If you have the ability to use a ham radio, do it. Do it. Your ham radio will offer you a lot of information, and you'll be able to call for help from ham radio operators in your local area or outside your local area, as long as you give them the information where you're at and what's going on. They'll pass it on to first responders. to get you help. But I have family radio service radios here. I have a ham radio here. I've got an AM, FM weather radio here. I have a police scanner here that I can monitor all the local frequencies. I've got all kinds of things here, including a television that I can watch the news on if I need to. Rarely do I ever have it tuned to news stations because I don't really care about what's happening, especially what's happening right now. I get most of my news from the internet, and I'm very picky with what I get even there. Very picky. But you can use two-way radios or ham radios depending on your situation. A ham radio, you're going to need a license. It's not that hard to get a license. You can buy a book to train how to take a ham radio test. Then you pay like $20 to go in and take the test. If you pass it, guess what? The FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, will send you a license. Then you can go on the air. Do not go on the air before that. The only way you can go on the air legally is if there was an emergency happen, and I mean a real emergency, because if it's not a real emergency, the ham radio operators will block you from using ham radio. Don't do it. Stay off the ham radio frequencies until you have a license. Okay? You may want to get one or two radios to communicate with, especially depending on your own needs of your family. Okay? Richard Smith says he's been calling out on the CB from North Carolina. Occasionally when the atmospheric conditions are right, Richard Smith from Nova Scotia might be able to talk to me. And I'm going to turn my CB radios on more frequently to make sure he can talk with me. Richard, I would love to be able to talk with you. That would be a kick in the pants. Wilson says, great, thanks for the information. I'm not quite done yet. I'm not quite done. Please, folks, make sure you have radios and the ability to communicate. Your family members may thank you for that. Briefly, I touched on first aid kits. Along with medications, prescriptions, and non-prescription drugs, you need to have standard first aid supplies, including a dust covering for your face, and gloves, and tools, different kinds of scissors, a stethoscope, a blood pressure cuff, a sharp buck knife, 2 or 3 different kinds of scissors to cut bandages and cloth with. You're also going to need a fire extinguisher. You're going to need to have a certain amount of tools with you as well. Tools that you might be able to operate your car with to make sure you keep your car in running condition. Because if you want to have a bug out vehicle and your car is not going to bug out at all, you've got a problem. Make sure you have tools to be able to fix things in your home, your apartment, wherever you're living, or to fix your car with. A flashlight, a rope, and I have different kinds of ropes here, including paracord, gloves, matches, and even a can opener. A hand can opener, not an electric can opener. These are obvious inclusions in your emergency preparedness kit. Include a wrench or a pair of pliers to turn off utilities. Now, I have a multi-kit, okay? It's got pliers here. These pliers can also cut some things. I have a smaller kit I always carry in my pocket at all times. This also has the ability to cut things with. Different kinds of blades, okay? Including a serrated blade. It has blades for screwdrivers, a flathead, or the other, I can't remember now, My mind just went blank. Boop, gone. Different kinds of screwdrivers. Make sure you have those. That's one of the reasons I have that multi-wrench here. It's great. It's great. It doesn't cost that much. I think I may have paid $20 for it. It's a great one. Hygienic supplies. Toilet paper. You don't have to go and buy out Costco or Sam's Club and empty their toilet paper. You don't have to do that. Just make sure you have enough toilet paper in your home to last a while. You can also buy moist towelettes. Moist towelettes, they're great. Feminine supplies. Make sure if you have your wife there, your girlfriend, your daughters, make sure you have plenty of feminine supplies. As gross as it might be to talk about, a bucket will come in very handy as a designated waste receptacle, i.e. a toilet. Garbage bags, garbage ties, disinfectant products like hand sanitizers and even chlorine bleach. Don't forget your pets either. Poop bags and a way to pick them up. You're going to want clothing. At least one change of clothing per person. It's best that one of them be a long sleeve shirt, long pants, and boots. Additionally, think about your own climate. Right now we are technically in the springtime around the world. Depending on where you're at, it might still be cold. You may still need to have jackets, or at least a rain jacket to keep yourself dry. Include sweaters, rain jackets, or any other cold climate clothing, depending on your needs, where you're at. Consider proper bedding. Mattresses, sleeping bags, blankets, sheets would be ideal for each person in your family. Lastly, include personal documents. FEMA created what they call their Emergency Financial First Aid Kit. You can read more about it on their site. But the essential idea is this: to have your personal financial documents ready for you. Copy those things. Put them in a gallon baggie that you can Ziploc close. Put them in a gallon baggie to keep them dry, to keep them from getting screwed up. Make sure all of your documents, your financial documents, your medical documents, all of your records for each member of your family could be in a separate bag. Okay? Make sure all of your records, your licenses, your college or university documents are special. Make sure you keep them. Now we've gone from 118 down to 70 people watching our program. That tells me that nobody gives a darn. Nobody gives a darn. I fully expected this to happen. 68 people now. People don't care to be told that they need to be prepared. I'm telling you, you do. And you not being here at the end of our program to find this out, you're cutting your own throat. And yes, I can just see it 3 months from now or 2 weeks from now when there's an emergency in somebody's life saying, oh, I wish I'd paid attention to Ron. Where is Ron when we need him? You can go back and watch these programs because these programs are going to be on the internet. They're going to be on YouTube, so you have this information. That's why I do it. There is a guy, and up until now, I've been very careful on what I say about him. His name Dutch Sense. I don't want his name to be put in the chat. I have little or no respect for him at all. Lately, he'll go on the YouTube or Twitch for 18, 20 hours at a time. And as soon as he turns it off, guess what? His programs are gone. He doesn't want YouTube to turn him down. He plays music all throughout the night, whether he is there talking or not. He plays music to keep people entertained. He has anywhere from 200 to 300 people on his chat 20 hours a day. And as soon as he ends that program, he takes it down, so YouTube doesn't slap his hands. Isn't that just great? You come on the air to talk about something important, and all of a sudden, it doesn't matter. As soon as you get through talking, you take it off the air. So nobody has any information. Yeah. Isn't that bright? Julie Fun says drug-induced? Yeah. I can almost guarantee it. I can almost guarantee it. I've heard snippets of his program where he's talking about drugs, talking about selling seeds. He has more than 1 million seeds of this one kind of drug. And guess what? There are people that have reported him to the DEA, to the FBI, and local police departments there in Missouri. One of these days, he's going to be in a crap load of trouble. I have no respect for him. I used to respect him completely. 5 years ago, he said he was never coming on the air again. He was never going to forecast any kind of quakes or anything. He's going to leave the air. I was on the chat room during that program, and we were begging him to stay on the air, begging him to continue, and he said no. And he did leave for many, many months. That is why I came on the air. Somebody had to talk about emergencies. Somebody had to talk about earthquakes. And I chose to be that person. And ever since then, I've been doing it. I've been doing it every day, except Saturdays. And even on a Saturday where there's something big going on, I do come on the air to talk about it. Whether it's an earthquake, a fire, or explosion, or whatever is going on. I'm not going to stop. Please, guys, please make sure you're subscribed to our program. If you have not subscribed, please do so. And when you do that, right next to the subscription button, there's a little bell icon. There's a bell in a tiny circle. Click on that bell. When you click on the bell, you will come up with a 3-menu item, drop-down menu. Click on the word ALL. That will get you subscribed and notified when we come on the air. During the week, we come on the air sometime after 6 p.m. Always. There's only been a handful of times that it's been later than that, sometimes after 7 p.m., but not very often, because I consider what we do to be very important. Please subscribe to this program. Please stay tuned with us, because we are going to tell you when something's happening. That's why I have done this. Okay? That's why I've been here. That's why I've been here. That's why I'm still here. I'm going to continue showing you what needs to happen and why. I've been doing it, and I'm going to continue doing it for as long as I possibly can. Okay? Please be here, guys. Watch when we come on the air. Please tell your friends, your neighbors, your family members, your extended family. Tell the people you work with, and also tell your social media contacts that we're here. Because we are here for everybody. We are here for everyone. Delete Fund says, can you research the infrastructure and supply chains? This is a major vulnerability. I have already done that research. Maybe one day this next week, I will take part of the program, or maybe the entire program, and talk about infrastructure and vulnerabilities. Because guess what? We are all subject to that. Back in 2019, 2022, we're all being affected by it. Every last one of us. There were shelves completely empty in a lot of stores. There's still occasionally empty shelves in the stores. Okay? I hate saying that, but there is. That's because the supply chain is not there to make sure we have the things we need. That's why it's so important to pay attention to what I've talked about tonight. It's very important. Please subscribe to this channel and make sure you get notified when we come on the air. And share it widely. Share it widely. Before you leave tonight, please give us a thumbs up. YouTube uses the thumbs up program for their own analytics to decide whether they're going to let other people see this program. Give us a thumbs up. Let YouTube know that you think that this program is important. Right now we have 106 people that have given us thumbs up. That means a great deal to me. Please give us thumbs up and make sure that you tell YouTube that we are needed here. Also, after this program is over, you can go to our comments section after the program and let us know what you think. And if you have a particular question, I'll try to answer it for you. If something is very serious, I will make sure I take notes and we talk about it one of the next time we come on the air. Because what you think is important. What you say is important. And I will respect that. Spread this message that I'm talking about now far and wide. Thank you all for being here. It is Friday night. I'm going to go downstairs and grab a bite to eat from something that my wife has made, and I'm going to put this program on social media. God be with you always. If anything happens tonight or tomorrow, we'll be back on the air to tell you about it as soon as the information becomes available. On Sunday, we will be coming on the air around 12 noon Eastern Time with our Sunday school class, Come Follow Me, the Savior Said. We have a lot to talk about when it comes to the Savior, don't we? I want to make sure that you stay close to the Savior, and I also want to make sure I stay close to the Savior too. I study the Scriptures. I study the Scriptures for a reason. I want to make sure that I am ready to go back to heaven. That's why I study the Scriptures. I want to make sure that I can also share my beliefs and the gospel of Jesus Christ with all of you. I love you. I care about each one of you and your families. 12 noon Eastern Time, Sunday afternoon, Sunday morning. Please join us with Come Follow Me, the Savior Said. I guarantee you, you will have a great time. I guarantee you. We always do. Last week we had 815 people that visited our program. 815 people. That was awesome. Please join us for Come Follow Me, the Savior Said on Sunday. For now, guys, I hope you have a good night and a better tomorrow. God be with you this day and always. God be with you until we can meet again. We will see you on the other side. Good night, everybody. Much love.